What's going on, you awesome creations? In today's video, we're jumping into Photoshop, taking a look at a rendered scene and showing you guys how to make the grass look better. So in this kind of quick rendered scene that I've done up from Sketchup, using Visualizer as a renderer, which is a real-time renderer, not available in 2017, but if you guys are after a real-time renderer for any previous Sketchup version, I highly suggest checking it out. It's always worked really, really well for me. But anyway, we had this seamless texture in SketchUp, and as you can see, it's still not the best. So today we're kind of exploring how to make this, our scene, look even better, just by bumping up the grass. So let's get into the video. Alright guys, so we're back in Photoshop. I'm just going to run a really quick action here, just to kind of set up all my layers the way I want, right? So let me know if you guys want a tutorial in actions, and I'll look at setting one up into the future. But anyway, for today, let's jump into our scene. Right, so we've got our render down in here, obviously under the render folder, and what we're going to do is in our additional elements, we're actually going to add in an extra folder called textures. And I'm not going to worry about any other additional elements like people or trees or anything today. It's all going to be just about this grass. We can add in some mountains just to give it a little bit extra depth in our scene, but I'm not sure. Depending on time, we might look at it, but I highly doubt it. I should also point out that this model that we're using today was found in the 3D warehouse. It's not my own creation. So if you guys are after that, check out the link in the description below. Hopefully I've got it included there, and you guys can go check it out for yourselves. Alright, so let's jump into the tutorial. So basically what you can do is jump into your Google Images and just search for grass fields or rolling hills or anything, and start to create some really kind of cool effects. So let's start with this one just initially. So this is just a very, very basic one. What we can do is drop our opacity back down. Probably not quite that low, but 40%. Now basically what we're trying to do here is match up our horizon line, or where the line of trees is, with our kind of rendered image where that line is. Alright, so I can kind of place it there, and let's scale this up slightly. And that will do us. Right, so now I'm going to Command J that, just to copy or duplicate that layer, flip it on down, and move that up again up to here. And I'm just going to flip this horizontally just so that I can kind of match these both up right on here. Right, so now we've got those two. I might actually move that, Command T, just move that over just slightly. That way I can throw in a layer mask, and with a soft black brush, I can just start to paint that off and just start to merge these two down. Before we get started, let's bump the opacity back up for that. Alright, jump back into here. And let's start merging these down as we need to. Alright, so I'm just being pretty rough here. Obviously for your proper images, you're going to take a little bit more time, but that will do us for today. Alright, so now we've got those two sorted, and kind of select them both and merge our layers. Alright, now what we want to do is grab a layer mask. Now I'm just going to hide that really quickly. Grab our pen tool. Alright, and I'm just going to trace along the outline of where our grass is, so where we want it. Alright, I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm just going to speed this up. So I'll jump back up with you guys in a minute or two. Alright guys, so as I begin to wrap this up, obviously there is multiple ways of creating a selection. I find that I'm starting to go with the pen tool a little bit more and using this make selection tool. Right, I don't want to feather the radius, it's completely fine. I don't know, I just find I can be a little bit more precise with it than the rectangular marquee tool, which I've used in the past. But anyway, we can hit G on this now using our paint bucket. We can paint this black, right? So let's put our visibility back on. Obviously I've done it wrongly, so let's hit Command and I and inverse that selection. Right, so now we've just with a simple kind of texture, we've gone from a very basic generic kind of texture into something with a little bit more depth. But let's start trying to take it a little bit further now. So what we can do is maybe let's grab this one here. Right, now this is a smart object, so I know I can kind of scale it up to whatever size I need. Alright, And obviously in the real world there's a little bit of variety in nature, and you're not going to have all the one species of grass or vegetation, right? So this is why I kind of like to layer up multiple fields of textures or whatnot. So again, we're going to drop this opacity down, and it's exactly the same kind of process. And I'm just going to line this up roughly with the kind of where that hill is, kind of coming up to the thing. Now we're going to have to duplicate this twice and flip it on over. Right, I'm going to go flip horizontal for this, and then again just line it up where I need to. Alright, now we got our other one there as well, and we might flip this one horizontal as well, just so that it kind of follows the layout that I had there already. Right, so that's all of those. Now we can jump up the opacity on all of those again, and then we can start masking them out individually. Right, so we can throw a layer mask on that. And we're just kind of combining these images all into one before we look at an overall layer mask. Alright, so I'm just being, again, pretty quick, pretty rough here, guys. Alright, now we can merge all three of those. Right click, merge layers. Alright, and we can then probably include or throw that layer mask back up there. So there's obviously a little bit of tweaking that we need to do here. And this is why I kind of like to include multiple kind of fields and layers, right? So now what we can do is dump our flow down to maybe 30% and our opacity up to maybe 60 or 70. And we start to come into here and just tailor it out a little bit. And even this might be a little bit rough. So we might actually drop our opacity down to 50%. And now we're just kind of working that texture, guys, and smoothing it out slowly so that these kind of textures kind of look and start to blend into each other. So I'm just breaking up that kind of fields. Alright, and again, I'm only doing this roughly. You guys can take your own time, do it up properly. Alright, I'm going to decrease my brush, look at zooming in into the top end here. And what we can do is grab our brush, and we kind of want our grass brush. This comes default with Photoshop. And we can start to kind of colour in a little bit along the top end so we don't have that harsh line there. And I'm just going to speed up this really quickly. Basically we're just going along and just softening up that edge. Alright guys, so that is pretty much it done. So obviously there's a little bit that I need to kind of fix up just in here. Right, I'm not going to really worry about that too much, but you guys kind of get the idea. If we had more time, I'd usually add in an extra kind of texture, probably layer up 3. You can kind of see there that going from the basic generic rendered texture, just by throwing over a few different overlays. If I really want to, I can play with these blend modes as well. Just cycle through them, see what works. Obviously dissolve probably won't. You can kind of get this scattering. Right, overlay and multiply usually works okay. Again, not a big fan of that. Overlay's not really working there either. So I'm just going to keep them normal for these two. But feel free to play with your blending modes. You can kind of see what will work. Right, and one final quick little touch. And obviously if we had more time, I'd probably actually play with the lighting a little bit more as well. But that will do us, guys. So that's a very, very basic way of adding in some more texture and some more feel into your rendered grass from whatever program you export from. That's going to wrap us up there today, guys. I hope you guys got something out of this. Make sure you leave a comment down below if I need to explain anything better. And consider subscribing if you want to see more great content like this. Until next time, guys, have an awesome week, and I will see you next time.